Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. Homeschooling has always been commonplace in Jamaica, having been regulated by the Independent School Unit, ISU, in the Ministry of Education and governed by the Education Act of 1965. However, with the increase in cases of COVID-19, many persons may be thinking of homeschooling their children. But do you have everything in place to carry out what could be a life-changing project for your child? Today we are joined by Secretary of the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, Trudy-Lee Panton, and she will help us through this process. Mrs. Panton, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let us start with a little background to your association.
Okay, so the association was formed in 2013 by a very small group of parents, and it has definitely mushroomed into something that, of course, prior to COVID, it has been growing steadily, but definitely with the advent of COVID, quadrupled even.
Right.
So we are now at our Facebook page, which is a closed page, features about 700, in excess of 700 members. So we work in partnership with the Ministry of Education, not necessarily governed by them.
So who is recommended for homeschooling? And why would we homeschool our child if you're not governed by the Ministry of Education?
Well, the Ministry of Education has its own sets of guidelines for homeschoolers. So it is recommended that a homeschool family who wishes, or our family who wishes to homeschool, definitely visits the Independent Schools Unit and engage in the discussion with them and the application process with them. However, the Association of Homeschoolers, JAS for short, is primarily responsible for the educational and social support of our members. So we provide support in relation to the curriculum, guiding our families and especially parents in the process, through the homeschooling process. We facilitate socialization activities for the children who are being homeschooled. So it definitely serves a purpose to the community itself.
Who would you recommend for homeschooling?
Okay, so we recommend any parent who is committed to the growth and the holistic education of their child. It definitely requires discipline from the parent. It requires that the parent you may not have the time to teach yourself, but you definitely need to be aware of what you expect from your child's education. And so you don't necessarily, from our experience in the community, you don't necessarily have to be a trained teacher. However, the other teaching skills that are not necessarily taught in the institutions are definitely necessary for the homeschool journey.
You do not have to be an educator to homeschool your child.
No, you
Tell me about that.
So I did my degree in international relations with a minor in psychology. And several parents, families within our community have been homeschooling for years without a teaching degree. And we have found that it is the other skills that we are called upon to exercise as we go through the homeschooling process. It's really how to juggle, how to work through the different the kinks of interacting with the children at the different ages and so on, that really makes for an efficient and effective homeschooling experience.
Yes. But in our society, you have to pass your CSEC, your CAPE, and your CSEC subjects. How do you ensure that happens? Because it's not just about being fulfilled; it's about passing the exams that will make you do what you need to do here to get a job or to go on to university.
Yes. And so there are varying levels of exams, first of all, that a homeschool family can participate in. And therefore, it depends on the specific family, what your goals are, your educational goals are. And there are several options available for you. Within the homeschool community, you yourself, the parent, doesn't have to be the one to impart the educational information to the child. And in fact, that is just one element of the homeschooling journey. So you find that you can have a tutor come in and teach the child. You have homeschool pods or homeschool co-ops, which are basically groups of families that come together for where you can, groups of families can come together with a tutor, one tutor. That would be called a pod. And in the case of the co-op, those are just families that come together and teach different subjects based on their personal competencies and the areas that they're efficient in.
Right. So do you follow the curriculum from the Ministry of Education?
And that is a choice. Definitely the ministry provides it's free of charge. It's curriculum free of charge. It's accessible on their website. So if you choose to use that, that's fine, okay with you. But there are several others that are approved by the ministry for you to use.
Okay. Well, we take a break now. When we come back with more information on homeschooling, please stay with us. Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're talking about homeschooling with Secretary of the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, Trudy-Lee Panton. All right, tell me exactly what is the process. So I've decided I want to homeschool my child or children. What do I do?
Okay. Well, there are, from our perspective as a community, there are several steps that you can take. From the ministry's perspective, however, the official process involves you visiting them, getting your application documentation together, and going, after completing that information, you hand it in. There will be an informal interview process. And of course, the ministry has their own standards and expectations in relation to how they provide approval and so forth. And they also engage in an inspection process, which is very facilitatory, and it allows for the families who are doing this for the first time definitely to get a better feel of what is expected and so forth. From the JAS position or the association's position, we definitely encourage that the families that they express a commitment to homeschooling and to their children in particular. Because as you notice with the COVID, there have been some issues that parents have been experiencing with school at home, where it is difficult for them to engage in the lessons with the children, and they're realizing that children are actually, they really didn't know their children. They really did, because they wouldn't have spent, significant hours daily with their children. And so we definitely recommend as an association that before you get into the heat of it, that you take some time, relax, do your research. What is homeschooling? What is the right homeschooling technique and procedure for you? There are several different sites out there that can help you to understand the learning style of your child, to help you to understand the process better. Right. And so do your research. We encourage that. We also encourage that families establish a proper routine, a proper schedule that functions well for them, not one that is preset or standardized. You work with the schedule that is best for your family, because a frustrated teacher is an awful one, and that is definitely the case in a homeschool. So those are some of the things that we encourage. We also do encourage to become a part of a support system like JAS. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but we have an established community where we provide support in any area that you can think of as it relates to homeschool.
What are the advantages, are there?
There are lots. There are definitely a lot, and I mean, time wouldn't allow. But I mean, the cost is one definite benefit. So
less?
Yes, it is definitely less. I mean, imagine 6 children going to school, the bus fare for all of them, the lunch money, the school fees, the uniforms, and all of the things that are wrapped up in educating a child. That is definitely curtailed a great deal with the homeschooling process. I mean, I buy one textbook and everybody shares the textbook.
Right. So I'd like to have my child homeschooled for now, the period that we're experiencing this pandemic, and then I want to integrate my child back into regular school system? How does that work?
Okay, so once you apply through the ministry, that a part of the application process does facilitate that, because you will receive at the end of the process, you'll receive an SRS card, which is supposed to ensure that you are able to sit external exams through whether through a school or some other exam center that will be provided to you. The ministry will inform you a bit more directly to that.
Okay, so you would arrange that for the parent?
Ministry definitely does arrange that.
So the parent applies, does the homeschooling, the child does the homeschooling, and then at the end of that period, they would go back to the Ministry of Education, who would tell them how the next move. So they'd probably do a test, and then
so once they have completed the application and they are aware of the different, they would make themselves aware of the different ages that they need to sit exams, etc. So they definitely, when the time comes at the right age, they would simply go into the ministry and they will do their necessary applications for the exam, and they will be able to sit the exam from a school that they that is approved.
Yes, yes.
So and then at the CXC level, that is done independently. You don't necessarily need the ministry's instructions for that.
Any negatives?
I can't think of any yet. I've been doing it for 6 years, and I mean, the benefits have certainly outweighed anything that could be a negative. I mean, it is stressful, and it does require a lot.
Right. So you have an oversight body, right?
Yes.
That will be guiding each family, and you have contact with the constant contact with the Ministry of Education.
Definitely, yes,
to ensure that the children are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Right. Okay. So as we wrap, tell us, give our parents some advice.
The advice for parents who choose to homeschool: relax. That's my first advice. Relax. It's not about standardized tests and classrooms and spaces that you need to outfit to be a class, because learning takes place anywhere.
So you need to have the right atmosphere at home.
Definitely.
And you need to be linking with the Ministry of Education to get the process done, and then
do your research.
And do your research.
Yes.
And then you are an oversight body, so you will help them.
Yes, we definitely guide our members through the process.
Okay.
And it's very easy to be a member, actually.
Tell us.
So you can email us at jamaicashomeschoolers@gmail.com, or you can contact us through, we have two contact numbers, 317-9643 or 317-9639. So any one of those options, you can contact us. We can share more with you.
Thank you so much. Lots more to talk about.
A whole lot.
All the time we have. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Secretary of the Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, Trudy-Lee Panton. Until next time, when Get the Facts brings you, as always, more pertinent and important information. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. Thank you so very much for watching, and take good care.